All right, my name is Carson Denman. I'm a rising junior in name, graduating with my bachelor's, what would be in 2 years, and then planning to pursue a master's also in name. So this is just a recap and reflection on my time here as an intern. Yeah, let's get into it. I was involved in a couple different major projects, and I think those would be what I kind of define my time here. First, and probably one of the bigger projects for the department would be the drop test rig. I was involved in sort of the safety review of taking a lab that we haven't really ran in a while, making sure it's up to code, follows any EHS guidelines, and any OSHA and MyOSHA safety protocols, as well as taking some of the things that we're going to be dropping into water and creating preliminary models for these things, such as cone, truncated cone, cylinder, sphere. I've also been involved in repurposing, overhauling our vacuum systems in both the model shop and our machining shop. You can see at the bottom here, there's a final picture of what is the vacuum kind of in the middle there, connected to our sandblaster machine and our 3-axis CNC Supra. So the vacuum is very important to make sure that any dust gets cleaned up. We don't have any static electricity buildup on the Supra, and overall the model shop and the machine shop stay clean. In other areas, I've been involved in making sea perch instructional videos, including density, pressure, buoyancy, 6 degrees of freedom, and ship terminology. You can see at the bottom a freeze frame of one of the animations I created for demonstrating the different 6 degrees of freedom for what is a little maize and blue canoe. And then also some holiday ornaments for the department and our faculty. Going through this internship, I had an opportunity to take some skills that maybe I had, maybe I didn't have as much experience in, and develop them. Starting off definitely in the area of CAD manufacturing and design. A lot of my experience through high school was involved in Autodesk Inventor, which, as I've found, is not as common in the naval architecture field. So taking those skills, transforming them into SolidWorks, using Fusion 360 a little bit for manufacturing, and also Rhino. Taking what I make in these models on the computer and saying, all right, well, now I have to manufacture them, and realizing that I have to do a lot of considerations to how that's actually going to be made, either if that's by just drilling holes, using a mill, creating that on a CNC, however that's going to work, that's got to be considered. And that's something that if you're just having fun designing something, that can be easy to forget. Growing a lot of skills, hands-on machine stuff, creating stuff that is going to be used in the shop, especially on the vacuum system, as well as sandblasting. I realized that that was a very fun skill to just sit away at a sandblaster, as well as some other general, less industry specific skills, including Excel, Google Sheets, technical writing, communication, all stuff that's going to be really important, really useful in my career as an engineer. In a more holistic sense, this internship gave me an opportunity to have some serious professional growth. As I kind of mentioned, taking something that you're designing and also having to consider how it's going to be manufactured is something that it's easy to forget as just a happy engineer making something on a CAD software. It's important to realize that there's also someone being paid to design it, and they're going to hate you if you make it really hard to actually make that happen. So having an opportunity to do both ends of the spectrum was really enlightening for me. Taking a look at the iterative design process, so having to say, all right, we're building this, but this is not what we want after we finally built it, and having to go back, make modifications to what we want to see, especially also, again, in the CNC vacuum, making something, then really realizing that what I made was not what I wanted. Working with all the interns in a bunch of different projects, especially as a lot of these interns around me have said, the model basin, there was a lot of stuff that we needed to do to make that get that cleaned up and get it looking nice. You see all the pictures now where it looks all cleaned up, and it was not that to start. And that came from, a lot of us sitting down, or really not sitting down, standing up and getting our hands dirty. Procurement and budgeting. Recently, I've been working on getting a budget set up, or not a budget, but getting some parts ready to order for our model shop vacuum, making sure that we're not spending too much money on stuff that we don't need and repurposing stuff that we have in our machine shop and just around MHL. Keeps costs down and also gives me a chance to just grow some more skills. Also throughout this internship, I think I refined a lot of my interests on where I want to go in NAME and more in realizing that I want to be less, I thought I wanted to be a naval architect, and now I realize I want to be a marine engineer. And I think I use this internship as an opportunity to really start to see that. I have on this side just a fun little collage, I guess you could say, of some of my demonstrated work. On the right, we have two different models of some of the stuff I'm working on for our drop rig, two different iterations. One is a sphere that used foam layers and a pin frame design. And then just below that, with the nice little red half circle, you can see what is part of a cone that I'm still working on. Kind of on the top and below, we have some pictures of what I'm working on for our model shop and our CNC vacuum system, making some of these parts, machining them, getting ready to machine them, and eventually putting them all together is going to be something I'm going to be working on, because this internship is not quite done and we still have more time to work. Also in the bottom, you can see some of the work I've done sandblasting, taking what is some ugly, dirty weights, cleaning them up, and then passing them off to Cooper here to finish off the paint job. And then also an example, I've been working with Tammy on creating some of the holiday ornaments for our faculty. And so this is one of the ones that I got to create and render. Moving forward, this internship is not quite done, even as we're given sort of a final presentation. I'm going to be working on finishing up our model shop vacuum to get that ready for the fall, so that students and faculty can use that space productively and don't have to spend hours of their time cleaning up all the junk that they made. They can just brush it into a little vacuum and be done with it. Also, I'm going to be working on these next couple weeks, finishing up some of our drop rig stuff and getting ready to pass it off to some of the more graduate level workers and faculty that are going to be taking on this project and keeping it going to the next level. Also, we're going to be manufacturing those holiday ornaments, getting them ready so that, I guess, like I said, our faculty are going home with a nice little gift. And I've taken a lot of these skills and I've been able to eventually apply them as incoming project lead on my project team at Michigan Solar Sea. So I'm going to be responsible for drivetrain integration, and I'm going to be taking pretty much all the skills I've used this summer to make that happen and keep us moving forward. So that's my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions that you all have. Thank you.
What was the defining moment that made you decide you want to go from naval architect to marine engineer?
I realized I disliked Rhino. I definitely got a lot more comfortable with Rhino, which I think was really valuable. But I realized Rhino as a program was something I didn't like, and also somewhat with my project team, I realized my interests weren't so much in the hull and like the hydrodynamic aspect, but more of like the ship and how it's moving and the efficiency and a lot of the systems that go into a ship that aren't the same as, like, you know, maybe a car or a plane. There's a lot of very specific systems that need to work for a boat traveling for, you know, months on the ocean. And finding that I have those interests was definitely in part due to this internship. I'd say it's a close tie between the drop rig and the vacuums system. The drop rig has been really cool, and I'm excited to keep working on it because it's as far as I've heard and experienced, it's a pretty big interest for the department to see a lot of this project through, and the research for acoustic impact, and also just allowing and creating a new lab for the MHL is going to be something that I'm going to be able to work on, but then through my time here, see come to fruition. Meanwhile, taking an opportunity to be involved in the entire design from in the vacuum projects, from designing, measuring and getting an idea of what I want to actually saying, all right, let's make it, and then realizing we need to go back and change that has been really enlightening and given me a pretty great opportunity to, whereas Dropberg was much more design and conceptual, this gave a chance to take design to paper to metal. So I think both those were pretty great, and I'm excited to pretty much keep working on them for the rest of the next few weeks.